He is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are
What
Jalen
up,
and Jacoby.
Joe?
What is it that we do, sir?
Give the people what they want.
We have a full slate of NFL games to get you prepared for, but we start in Houston, where the new head coach, Stephen Silas, had this to say about the disgruntled James Harden.
Well, I haven't spoken to him since the trade, and to be honest with you, in situations like this, so this is whatever, 22nd year in the NBA, and when stuff like this kind of happens where there's a little indecision and stuff going on, I kind of take a step back and allow guys some space.
Giving him some space, Jalen. Giving him some space. What do you think about Coach Silas's approach to this?
It totally makes sense. When Coach Silas signed on to be the Rockets coach, he got the green light from James Harden, for example, and support. That doesn't necessarily mean James wants to play the rest of his career there. So they understand as professionals. He talked about how long he's been in the game, that James still has 2 more seasons left under contract. And I believe, just like I assume the coach believes, when it's mandatory for James to show up, he's going to show up. He's a dynamic player, Jacoby, and I'm going to continue to stress, for the sanctity of the game, when you have top 10 players, they're pillars in the league. They're the elite superstars. And I pay attention when Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis end up on other teams. Now, when Dame Lillard and James Harden, and we're going to be talking about the Greek Freak and Jokic, like, it's important for the balance of the game for those guys to get a chance to play against one another, Jacoby. And so if James Harden leaves Houston, they're not only losing a dynamic player that I don't think they're going to be able to replace, but we're also losing one of the pillars of the league playing in Houston that's now going to leave and be playing elsewhere.
Well, a couple things on this. Number one, I bet Coach Silas has texted and called James Harden and just didn't hear back, so that's how he's giving him space. But I also want to say this. It's one thing if you're James Harden, the number 1 scorer in the NBA, to say, I want to play in Brooklyn with Kyrie and KD. It's one thing to say that, but if I'm the Houston Rockets, I'm looking at the potential package that Brooklyn can give me back, and take a look at it. This is just something that we are sort of theorizing that they could get back for James Harden through Brooklyn. That's not doing it for me. I like all 3 of those players, Jalen. But you know what else I like? The guy who scores more points than everybody else in the entire league.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
That's not happening for me. If I'm the Rockets, I'm like, James, listen, you've got 2 more years on your deal. We've got practice. You better be there because you have a contract and you get paid tens of millions of dollars to play the sport that you love. We'll see you at the facility until we can work something out. What do you think happens next in this little chess game?
Well, what happens next, hopefully, is the Houston Rockets should not panic. That's the most important thing. I think Silas is going to do a terrific job. And their general manager, I'm telling you guys, has done a terrific job this all season with underappreciated assets around the league. You talked yesterday about my Christian Woods from the Pistons playing with them. They also got DeMarcus Cousins that's going to be motivated and looking to get paid, and John Wall returning from injury. And so while they were playing the small ball with P.J. Tucker, he's still on the team, and Eric Gordon's still on the team. So the Rockets still have a chance to be one of the top handful of teams in the Western Conference. Don't panic.
I wouldn't panic either, and I definitely would not trade him to Brooklyn before the season started for the package that we just put up on the screen. Now, moving on to another star player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was doing an interview overseas, and here's the translation of one of the more interesting things that he said. He said, quote, "If LeBron, KD, or AD want to join me in Milwaukee, I will be happy. I don't care about being number 1 or number 2 or number 3. He went on to say that all he cares about is winning. Jalen, what do you think about this philosophy from Giannis?
Well, there's levels to it. First and foremost, you want players that think team first, and everyone's goal is to be a champion. That's the ultimate goal. That's why they keep score. But from a competitive standpoint, you hope that the back-to-back MVP is talking about how he's going to beat those guys this year. because he's still under contract for the Bucks, and they underperformed. And by the way, it wasn't to LeBron, KD, or AD. It was to Jimmy Butler in his first year with the Miami Heat. Have we seen that happen in the East before? Oh, that's right. Kawhi Leonard did it his first year in Toronto in the East. So I understand that all year we're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. Can they do enough for Giannis to get him a championship? Not too many back-to-back MVPs end up leaving. LeBron James did so when he left Cleveland. This is something I hope does not happen to the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis for his future.
Well, everyone asked, should Giannis sign the extension? No, Giannis has no motivation to sign the extension. That money will be there after this season. They brought in Drew Holiday. I think that was very important. They made some other moves. But remember, they tried to get Bogdanovich, and they're not doing this in a vacuum. They're doing this with Giannis's cosign. So you see what they did there. To me, that's not enough to make me put pen to paper if I am Giannis. Because if I'm Giannis, that's where I'm looking. I'm saying, you know what? Even if they go 82-0 and win the championship, I'm still looking at Dallas and looking at Luka and say, ooh, that's a really nice mix. That looks really good for me. And Jalen, do they have taxes in Dallas?
They have no state taxes in Texas. He's going to save a lot of bread if that happens. However, Jacoby, I like what you did there. This is the only reason why. You know how I want him to stay in Milwaukee. But if he is going to leave, don't go join somebody that already's been ring chasing. Go your own path. Go to Luka's squad. Go to Dallas and play with him and KP, because neither one of those guys, unlike the aforementioned players that we mentioned, have been on other situations where they try to create a big two or a big three.
Of course, you know there's so many duos in the league, and I like complementary duos. If you look at James Harden, John Wall, not necessarily complementary. If you look at LeBron and AD, complementary. You look at Giannis and Luka, their games fit each other's game perfectly. I would love to see him in Dallas. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep that open. I'm just going to keep it open if I'm Giannis. Just keep it open if I'm Giannis, and make the Bucks audition for me.
No, well, they lost Kareem. I don't want them to lose Giannis. That's heartbreaking. I don't know what Freddie Gibbs will do.
There's been some new coaches and new players around the league, and Ty Lue was discussing one of his new players in the Clippers, and here's what he had to say. It's soft mover boss.
Losing Sham was huge for us. I thought we had a young talent who can shoot the basketball, come off screens, a lot of pick-to-pick interactions. That was tough for us to lose him, but we got a good player and I can't see it. Hello?
It was the head scratch for me. It was like, so he was discussing Luke Kennard, a new player for the Clippers, and he just started scratching his head and then acting like the Zoom froze. Now, the Zoom might have froze, but he still didn't remember Luke Kennard's name. Jalen, acting like the Zoom froze because you forgot your own player's name. Soft mover boss.
It was actually a boss move what he did.
It was.
However, it was a soft move not remembering your player's name when you only have up to 17 of them on the roster this year. And if you're the player, you want the coach to be excited that they traded for you and actually talk about what your role is going to be on the team. But I'm going to tell a lot of people, Luke Kennard is an underrated player. He's going to play quality minutes for the Clippers. But let me talk about my guy, Ty Lue. A championship coach is going to do a terrific job with the Clippers, Jacoby. You know what that is? That's a failed test. That's actually what that really is. And that's why I applaud Adam Silver for being the kind of commissioner that's not going to randomly test his players and their coaches this year. That's why I love the league. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Great job.
Recreational medicinal is legal in California. And as you mentioned, they're not going to conduct random tests for marijuana. What sort of message does that send to the players as we head into a new season?
The message is the NBA is keeping up with the rest of society. It's not something that we're going to promote or condone in particular for minors. However, the other professional sports aren't punishing for marijuana. The NBA and the NFL have been the two consistent ones. So the NBA seems to be softening that stance. I expect this to continue for the future.
Well, I've never seen an NBA player smoke marijuana in my entire life, so I'm not going to name any names, but there's like 5 people that come to mind when I saw this. There's like 4 or 5 people that come to mind, and if you watch a lot of NBA basketball, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Shout that handful of players. They're going to celebrate this development in a unique way. Jalen, you see my t-shirt today?
Booyah!
Representing
Legend.
my Booyah t-shirt. We celebrate B-Week here at ESPN and, of course, the life and legacy of Stuart Scott. Let's listen to one of his more powerful messages.
I'm still here. I'm fighting. I'm not losing. But I got to amend that. When you die, that does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live.
You can honor Stuart Scott's memory by giving to his research fund. The fund supports minority researchers and the research of why some cancers are more likely to impact minority populations. If you're able, give now at v.org/Stuart.
Miss you, Stu.
Jalen, we have a full slate of NFL games to get you ready for, and we will do so right after this. You're watching Jalen and Jacoby.
Jalen and Jacoby is presented by Guinness. Game time is Guinness time. Please drink responsibly. Part of happy hour.